Nathaniel sat in his lavish office, the city skyline sprawling before him like a canvas of ambition and success. The glass walls reflected his image, a sharply dressed man in his mid-30s, with dark hair that was just starting to show hints of silver at the temples. He was a figure of power, a successful businessman who had built his empire from the ground up. Yet, despite the accolades and the wealth that surrounded him, a shadow loomed in the corners of his heart, one that refused to fade with time. As he glanced at the framed photographs on his mahogany desk, memories of a different life tugged at his consciousness. Among them was a picture of Isabella, her laughter captured in time, eyes sparkling with a joy that seemed to light up the entire room. They had shared dreams, plans for a future that shimmered with possibility. But those dreams had been shattered 7 years ago when she had vanished without a trace. The ache of her absence gnawed at him, an incessant reminder of what he had lost. "Focus, Nathaniel," he murmured to himself, shaking his head as if to dispel the memories that threatened to consume him. He turned his attention to the spreadsheets on his computer screen, lines of numbers and graphs that spoke of profits and losses, yet even they failed to engage him fully. His mind wandered back to the last time he had seen her, the way she had smiled at him, a radiant beacon of hope and love. How had it all gone so wrong? A soft knock on the door pulled him from his reverie. His assistant, Clara, peeked in, her face a mix of concern and professionalism. "Is everything okay, Mr. Harrington? You seem distracted." Nathaniel forced a smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just lost in thought, Clara. What's on the agenda for today?" She stepped inside, her heels clicking against the polished floor. "You have a meeting with the board in an hour, and then a charity gala tonight. They're expecting you to make an appearance." "Right, the gala," he replied, rubbing a hand over his face. The last thing he wanted was to wade through small talk and forced pleasantries when all he could think about was Isabella. "Anything important I should prepare for?" "Just the usual updates," Clara replied, her tone light, but Nathaniel could sense the underlying urgency in her voice. "And, I know it's been a while, but have you thought about reaching out to some of your old friends? They'd love to see you." He shook his head, a bitter smile forming on his lips. "I doubt they'd want to see me. Not after everything. Not after her." Clara hesitated, her brow furrowing. "You can't keep holding on to the past, Nathaniel. It's been 7 years. You have to let go." "Letting go is easier said than done," he replied, his voice low. "Some things are too precious to forget." As she left the office, Nathaniel leaned back in his chair, the weight of his memories settling heavily on him. He thought of their last summer together, of long drives through the countryside, laughter echoing in the warm air as they made promises beneath the stars. They had dreamed of a life filled with travel, adventure, and a home filled with love. But the dream had disintegrated the moment she disappeared, leaving behind nothing but a void that had consumed him. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an orange hue across the city. Nathaniel closed his eyes, allowing the memories to wash over him. He remembered the times they had spent in the park, picnicking on soft blankets, sharing secrets and dreams. Isabella had always had a way of seeing the beauty in everything, of finding joy in the simplest of moments. He longed for that warmth, that connection, but it felt like a distant memory, a dream that had slipped through his fingers. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. He had tried to move on, to fill the emptiness with work and achievements, but nothing could replace the love he had lost. Rumors had floated around concerning her disappearance, whispers of tragedy and misfortune, but he had never been able to confirm any of them. He had often wondered if she had forgotten him, if she had found a new life, a new love. The thought cut deeper than he cared to admit. With a sigh, he opened his eyes and returned to the present, pushing aside the thoughts of Isabella for the moment. He had a meeting to prepare for, and the world outside his office continued to spin, indifferent to his heartbreak. Yet as he focused on the numbers and strategies, his thoughts drifted again to the charity gala that evening. It was a gathering of the city's elite, a place where he was expected to mingle and network. But all he could think about was how it would feel to be surrounded by people while carrying the weight of his unresolved feelings. As the clock ticked closer to the hour of the gala, Nathaniel found himself in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie. He looked sharp, confident, but inside he felt anything but. He was a man walking through life with a smile plastered on his face while his heart ached with a longing he couldn't shake. The gala was held in a grand ballroom adorned with twinkling lights and elegant decorations. As he entered, the chatter of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. Friends and acquaintances greeted him, their faces lighting up at the sight of him. But Nathaniel felt detached, as if he were watching the scene unfold from a distance. "Hey, Nathaniel," called out Mark, a former college friend, as he approached with a glass of champagne in hand. "You look great. It's been too long." "Yeah, it has," Nathaniel replied, forcing a smile. "How have you been?" "Busy with work, as usual. How about you? Still running that empire of yours?" "It keeps me occupied," he said, glancing around the room, searching for a familiar face that wasn't there. The discussions around him faded into a dull hum, and he could feel the pull of nostalgia tugging at his heart. As the evening progressed, Nathaniel found himself drawn into conversations about business ventures and philanthropic efforts. Yet his mind wandered back to Isabella. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, that a part of him was forever lost without her. Suddenly, he overheard a group of friends nearby discussing rumors regarding Isabella's fate. His heart raced as he leaned closer, straining to catch every word. "Did you hear? They say she might have been involved in something illegal," one woman said, her voice dripping with intrigue. "Some kind of scandal that forced her to disappear." "What a tragedy," another chimed in. "She was such a bright star. Imagine what could have been if she hadn't vanished." Nathaniel's breath hitched in his throat, the words cutting deeper than he could have anticipated. The thought of Isabella being involved in something dark, something that could have led to her disappearance, sent chills down his spine. He wanted to confront them, to demand the truth, but the words caught in his throat. "Do you believe the rumors?" Mark asked, noticing Nathaniel's stillness. "I mean, it's been years. No one really knows what happened." "I don't know," Nathaniel replied, his voice quiet. "But I can't shake the feeling that there's more to it. She wouldn't just leave without a reason." Mark studied him for a moment, concern etching his features. "Maybe it's time to stop digging in the past. You've built a good life for yourself. You deserve to move on." But could he? As he stood there, surrounded by laughter and light, Nathaniel felt the weight of his unresolved feelings pressing down on him. He had tried to move on, to fill the void with success and ambition, but every rumor, every whisper of Isabella's name reignited the flame of hope within him. What if she were out there, somewhere, needing him as much as he needed her? The evening wore on, the lights sparkling like stars against the darkened sky, but Nathaniel felt an unshakable sense of restlessness. He had come to the gala seeking distraction, but instead, he found himself trapped in a web of unresolved emotions: love, loss, and the unyielding hope that somehow, against all odds, he might still find Isabella again. Nathaniel walked briskly down the dimly lit street, the cool evening air wrapping around him like a shroud. The hustle and bustle of the city had begun to quiet, and the rhythmic sound of his footsteps echoed in the silence. His mind was a tangled mess of thoughts, work deadlines, financial reports, and the ceaseless ache of memories that haunted him like a specter. He hadn't realized how lost in his own world he had become until he spotted a figure huddled against the cold brick wall of a nearby building. As he drew nearer, his heart stopped. There, illuminated by the flickering streetlight, was Isabella. Time seemed to warp around him, stretching and bending as he processed the sight before him. She looked disheveled, her once lustrous hair matted and dirty, and her clothes were tattered and grimy. But it was her eyes, those deep, expressive eyes, that jolted him back to the days filled with laughter and love. They were filled with a mix of fear and hope as they locked onto his. Isabella. Nathaniel's voice cracked as he spoke her name. It felt like a prayer, a desperate plea to the universe that this moment was real. She flinched at the sound of his voice, her small frame shrinking back against the wall. Nathaniel, she breathed, a whisper barely audible above the sound of the city. The weight of 7 long years hung between them, thick and palpable. He approached cautiously, not wanting to frighten her further. "What happened to you? Where have you been?" The questions tumbled out, one after another, as he tried to reconcile the vibrant woman he once knew with the fragile figure before him. Isabella's voice trembled. She took a deep breath, glancing down at the 2 identical twin girls holding her hands. They looked up at Nathaniel with wide, curious eyes, their innocence stark against the harsh reality of their surroundings. "Please," she said, her voice quaking with emotion. "I need help. We need help." The urgency in her tone pierced through Nathaniel's confusion, igniting a fierce protectiveness within him. "What do you mean? Are you in danger?" His mind raced as he thought of the possibilities. Who could have done this to her? Why was she on the street? Isabella hesitated, glancing at the girls again before stepping closer to Nathaniel, lowering her voice. "It's a long story. I can't explain everything here. Can you take us somewhere safe?" Nathaniel's heart raced at the sight of her vulnerability. He could see the dirt smudged on her cheeks and the weariness etched into her features, but beneath it all, he recognized the woman he once loved. "Of course. There's a cafe nearby. We can talk there." He glanced at the girls, who seemed to cling to their mother like lifelines. "Come on, it's not far." As they walked, Nathaniel felt a whirlwind of emotions: relief, fear, and an overwhelming need to protect her and the girls. He stole glances at Isabella, noticing how she walked with a slight limp, as if every step was a reminder of the pain she had endured. The twins, no older than 5 or 6, held her hands tightly, their wide eyes darting between their surroundings, taking in the world with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The cafe was a cozy little place, its warm light spilling out onto the street like a beacon. Nathaniel pushed the door open, the bell jingling softly as they entered. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and a few late-night patrons glanced up from their tables, intrigued by the unusual trio. Nathaniel led Isabella and the girls to a secluded corner, away from prying eyes. Once seated, Nathaniel ordered hot chocolate for the twins, hoping to soothe them, while he opted for black coffee, needing the caffeine to sharpen his mind. As the waitress walked away, he turned his attention back to Isabella. "Now, tell me everything. Please." Isabella's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, and she looked away, focusing on the table instead. "It's hard to explain," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "After I disappeared, I was kidnapped. I thought I'd never see you again." The words poured out, raw and painful. Nathaniel's breath hitched in his throat. Kidnapped? By whom? A man, she said, her voice trembling. Involved in something dangerous. I was trapped for years, Nathaniel. I managed to escape, but it wasn't easy. I lost everything, including myself. She paused, the weight of her confession hanging heavily in the air. And these girls, they're mine. The realization hit Nathaniel like a freight train. Yours. He blinked, trying to process the revelation. You had children. Isabella nodded, her gaze flickering to the twins, who were now giggling softly over their hot chocolate. Their names are Mia and Lila. I had them while I was during my captivity. A wave of sorrow washed over her face. I never wanted this for them. I didn't want them to live like this. Nathaniel felt his heart shatter at the thought of what Isabella had endured. I'm so sorry, he murmured, reaching out to grasp her hand, his touch gentle and reassuring. You don't have to go through this alone anymore. I'll help you. We'll figure out together. Isabella looked at him, her eyes glistening with tears. You don't understand, Nathaniel. I'm scared. I can't go back to the life I had. I don't know who I am anymore. Then we'll rediscover who you are, he replied firmly. We'll find a way to make this right. The conviction in his voice surprised even him, but he meant every word. He could feel the weight of their past pressing down on him, but there was also a flicker of hope that they could overcome this darkness together. The twins, oblivious to the gravity of the conversation, began to play with the whipped cream on top of their hot chocolate, giggling and sharing whispers. Nathaniel watched them, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spread through his chest. He had never imagined himself in a fatherly role, but the sight of those girls brought forth a sense of responsibility he never knew he possessed. Isabella's gaze softened as she watched her daughters, a fleeting smile breaking through her sorrow. They're beautiful, aren't they? She said, her voice thick with emotion. They take after their mother, Nathaniel replied, unable to keep the smile from his face. The moment felt surreal, as if they were suspended in time, a fragile bubble of connection amidst the chaos that had defined their lives. As they sat there, the atmosphere shifted slightly, an unspoken understanding forming between them. Nathaniel knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey, fraught with uncertainty and danger. But for the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose. He would do everything in his power to protect Isabella and the girls, to help them heal from the wounds of the past, and create a future filled with love and safety. Let's get you a place to stay, he said, breaking the silence that had settled around them. We can go to my apartment, and I can help you get back on your feet. Isabella's eyes widened in disbelief. You'd do that for us, after everything that's happened? Of course, he replied, his voice steady. You're not alone in this anymore. We're going to face whatever comes next together. The determination in Nathaniel's voice seemed to bolster Isabella's courage, and for the first time, she allowed herself to hope. Thank you, Nathaniel, she whispered, her grip tightening around his hand. As they sat in the cafe, a new chapter began to unfold, one that would test their resilience, but also offer the chance for healing, redemption, and perhaps, if fate was kind, love once more. As the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, Nathaniel sat across the table from Isabella, his heart racing with a mix of emotions. The cafe was bustling with patrons absorbed in their conversations, yet it felt as if they were in a world of their own. Two identical twin girls, no older than 5, played quietly at their mother's feet, their innocent laughter breaking the heavy silence that loomed over the table. Nathaniel studied Isabella's face, which bore the marks of hardship and pain, yet there was a flicker of the woman he once loved shining through. She looked fragile, yet there was a steely strength in her eyes that he had forgotten about. Isabella, he began, his voice low and careful. "You don't have to tell me everything right now. Just take your time." She nodded, her gaze drifting to the twins, who were busy sharing a pastry. "They're so beautiful, Nathaniel," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Their names are Mia and Lily." "Mia and Lily," he repeated, smiling at the girls. "They're perfect." The sight of the twins tugged at his heartstrings, igniting a protective instinct he had never known he possessed. Isabella took a deep breath, her fingers trembling slightly as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. "I never meant for this to happen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "When I disappeared, it wasn't by choice. I was kidnapped." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with dread. Nathaniel's heart sank as he leaned in closer. "Kidnapped? What do you mean?" She looked down, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "It was 7 years ago. I was walking home from work when I was grabbed. They blindfolded me and took me somewhere I couldn't see. I was held captive by a man involved in a crime ring. They used me to smuggle drugs across state lines." Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat. The image of Isabella, the woman he had loved fiercely, trapped and terrorized, sent a chill down his spine. "Isabella, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what you went through. I lost everything, Nathaniel. My identity, my life, even my family thought I was dead." Her voice broke as she spoke, pain etched into every word. "I managed to escape, but it wasn't easy. I was terrified alone. I had no idea how to go back to my old life. So I kept running." The twins looked up at her, sensing their mother's distress. "Mommy, are you sad?" Mia asked, her big brown eyes wide with concern. Isabella quickly wiped the tears from her cheeks and forced a smile. "No, sweetie. I'm just remembering some things. But I'm okay, I promise." She turned back to Nathaniel, her expression shifting to one of vulnerability. "And then I had them. Mia and Lily were born during my time in hiding. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified of being found, but I couldn't let anything happen to them." Nathaniel felt his heart ache for her. "Isabella, you're so brave. I can't believe you've gone through all of this alone." He reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. "You're not alone anymore. I want to help you." Isabella's eyes locked onto his, searching for sincerity. "You don't know what you're getting into, Nathaniel. This isn't just about me." "I don't care," he interrupted, his voice firm. "I've spent 7 years trying to forget you, and now that you're here, I can't just walk away. We'll figure this out together. I promise." She looked down at their hands, a mixture of hope and fear swirling within her. "You don't understand the dangers. They'll come after me, after us. I can't put you or the girls in danger." "I'm willing to take that risk," he insisted, his resolve unwavering. "You're worth it, Isabella. You and the twins. I won't let anything happen to you." As the weight of his words settled between them, Isabella's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "What if they find us before we can do anything? What if? I don't want to lose you again." "You won't lose me," he assured her, squeezing her hand gently. "We'll find a way to keep you safe. I'll talk to some people, get in touch with law enforcement. They can help us." Isabella shook her head, the fear evident in her voice. "What if they're in on it? What if they can't be trusted?" Nathaniel frowned, understanding her hesitation, but feeling a spark of determination igniting within him. "Then we'll find a different way. But we have to do something. You can't keep living like this." A moment of silence enveloped them, the noise of the cafe fading into the background as they both contemplated the gravity of the situation. The twins continued to munch on their pastries, oblivious to the adult world of danger swirling around them. Isabella finally spoke, her voice steady yet laced with uncertainty. If you really want to help, then we need to find out who is behind all of this. I need to know who I'm up against. Nathaniel nodded slowly, his mind racing. We can start by gathering everything you remember. Names, places, anything that can lead us to them. Isabella took a deep breath, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. Okay, I can try, but it's going to be difficult. I've blocked out a lot of it. It was too painful to remember. Whatever it takes, Nathaniel replied, his voice filled with conviction. We'll do it together. Their conversation continued, filled with plans and ideas. As the twins played nearby, their laughter a reminder of the innocence they were fighting to protect. Nathaniel felt a sense of purpose he hadn't known in years. With Isabella back in his life, despite the circumstances, he was determined to help her reclaim her life, their love, and the future that had been stolen from them. As they shared their stories, the cafe around them became a sanctuary, a place where hope began to blossom amidst the shadows of their past. Nathaniel knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he felt ready to face them, armed with the knowledge that love could still conquer the darkest of times. Nathaniel sat at his sleek mahogany desk, the glow of his laptop illuminating his face in the dimly lit office. The walls were adorned with accolades and photographs, a testament to his success as a businessman, yet they felt hollow. Every trophy and framed picture seemed to whisper Isabella's name, an echo of a past he had tried so hard to suppress. He had poured years of his life into building a fortress around his heart, but now, with her back in his life, the walls felt like they were crumbling. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he attempted to focus on a report, but the image of Isabella, worn and desperate, haunted him. It had been a week since their unexpected reunion, and the weight of her story pressed heavily on his shoulders. She had been so brave, revealing the horrors she had endured, yet he felt powerless to change the course of her life. The thought of the twins, sweet, innocent girls born from her captivity, filled him with a sense of urgency. He had to do something. With a deep breath, Nathaniel pushed aside his work and grabbed his phone. He dialed the number of a contact at the local police department, determined to delve deeper into Isabella's past. As the phone rang, he felt a mixture of anxiety and determination. He needed answers, not just for himself, but for Isabella and the twins. Detective Harris, a gruff voice answered. Nathaniel Cole here. He introduced himself, his heart racing. I need your help with a case. Isabella Mercer. I believe she was kidnapped 7 years ago. There was a pause on the line, and Nathaniel could almost hear the wheels turning in the detective's mind. I remember that case. It was high profile due to her family's connections. What's your interest in it? She's back in my life, Nathaniel replied, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling within him. She's been through hell, and I want to help her. I need to know more about her abduction and who was involved. All right, Detective Harris said, his tone shifting to one of professionalism. Meet me at the station tomorrow morning. I can pull up old records and see if there's been any new developments. Thank you, Nathaniel breathed, relief flooding through him. He hung up the phone, his mind racing with possibilities. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would help Isabella reclaim her life, no matter what it took. The following morning, Nathaniel arrived at the police station, his heart pounding in his chest. The sterile environment, with its fluorescent lights and muted colors, felt foreign compared to the luxury he was accustomed to. He was greeted by Detective Harris, who led him to a small conference room lined with case files. As they sat across from each other, Harris spread out a series of photographs and documents. Here's what we have on Isabella's case, he began, flipping through the pages. She was kidnapped by a man named Victor Reyes, who had connections to a crime syndicate operating in the city. We never managed to track him down after the initial investigation. Nathaniel leaned forward, his interest piqued. What do you know about Reyes? Is he still active? From what we gathered, he disappeared off the radar after Isabella's case went cold. There have been whispers of his involvement in other crimes, but nothing concrete. The people he worked with are powerful, and they've managed to keep things under wraps. A chill ran down Nathaniel's spine. Powerful figures were involved, and that meant danger lurked around every corner. Is there any way to trace his connections? Detective Harris nodded. I can dig into old records, see if there are any links to current investigations. But I need you to be careful. If Reyes is still out there, he won't take kindly to anyone poking around. Nathaniel nodded, the weight of the detective's warning settling on him like a heavy cloak. I understand. I just want to make sure Isabella and the girls are safe. As he left the station, determination coursed through him. He knew the risks, but he also knew he couldn't turn back now. Isabella needed him, and he was willing to face whatever came next. Back at his apartment, Nathaniel found Isabella in the small living room, surrounded by the twins. They were playing with blocks, their laughter ringing through the air like music. The sight warmed his heart, and he felt a flicker of hope for their future. Isabella looked up and smiled, though there was still a hint of sadness in her eyes. How did it go? She asked, her voice soft but laced with curiosity. I met with a detective, he replied, taking a seat next to her. We're going to dig deeper into your case, see if we can uncover more about what happened. Isabella's expression shifted, a mixture of gratitude and fear crossing her face. Nathaniel, I don't want to put you in danger. You don't have to do this for me. I want to, he insisted, taking her hand in his. You and the girls deserve to know the truth, and I won't stop until we find it. Tears welled in Isabella's eyes, and she squeezed his hand tightly. Thank you. I don't know what I would do without your support. The twins, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, looked up at their mother. Mommy, are you sad? One of them asked, her voice innocent and sweet. Isabella quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile. No, sweetie, just a little tired, but I'm okay. Can we build a tower? The other twin chimed in, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Of course, Isabella replied, her spirit lifting as she turned her attention to the girls. Together, they began stacking the blocks, laughter filling the room once more. Nathaniel watched, his heart swelling with affection. He could see the strength returning to Isabella, and it filled him with hope. As days passed, Isabella began to find her footing again. Each moment spent with the twins brought her a sense of normalcy, a glimpse of the life she had lost. She laughed more, played with them, and even started cooking meals again, simple things that reminded her of the woman she used to be. Nathaniel found joy in watching her rediscover herself, even if it was just a small part of her old self. But as he worked with Detective Harris, he couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked just beneath the surface. Late one evening, while he was reviewing documents at his desk, his phone buzzed with an incoming message. The text was anonymous, chilling in its brevity. Stop your investigation or you'll regret it. Nathaniel's heart raced as he read the words. He knew the stakes were high, but he hadn't anticipated a direct threat. The realization that someone was watching him, someone who would go to great lengths to protect their secrets, sent a shiver down his spine. He had to tread carefully now, not just for himself, but for Isabella and the twins, who were now his responsibility. He shared the message with Detective Harris the next day, whose face paled as he read the text. "This is serious, Nathaniel. You need to be cautious. We'll increase security around you and Isabella. But you have to promise me you won't take any unnecessary risks." "I promise," Nathaniel replied, though he couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in his stomach. He had come too far to back down now, and the thought of abandoning Isabella was not an option. They were a family now, and he would do whatever it took to protect them. That evening, Nathaniel returned home, his mind racing with possibilities. He wanted to shield Isabella from the impending danger, but he also knew she deserved to be part of the truth. As he walked into the living room, he found her sitting with the twins, their laughter brightening the dim space. In that moment, he understood that love was worth the risk, and he was willing to face whatever darkness lay ahead, together. Nathaniel sat across the small table in the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the scent of pastries, creating an oddly comforting atmosphere amid the storm that had engulfed his life. He watched Isabella intently, his heart heavy with a mixture of affection and concern. The light from the window illuminated her face, revealing the shadows of pain that had etched themselves into her features over the years. She was no longer the vibrant woman he once knew, but rather a survivor, marked by trials that would haunt her forever. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked, his voice low and steady, yet laced with urgency. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table, the intensity in his gaze urging her to reconsider. "We could just leave this behind, Isabella. You and the girls we could find a way to start fresh somewhere else." She shook her head, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders in disarray. "I can't run away from this, Nathaniel. I need to face it. I need to know the truth about what happened to me and to protect the girls." Her voice trembled, but there was a steely resolve behind her words. They deserve to know their mother isn't just a ghost from the past. The twins, seated beside her, fidgeted with their hands, their wide eyes darting between their mother and the man who had suddenly become a pivotal figure in their lives. Nathaniel noticed how they were mirroring Isabella's emotions, sensing the weight of the conversation. He felt a pang of responsibility wash over him, a deep-rooted desire to shield them from the harsh realities of their existence. "Okay," he finally said, resigning himself to the course they had set. "Then let's do this. I'll help you, and we'll get to the bottom of it together." He reached across the table and took her hand, a gesture meant to convey his unwavering support. "You're not alone anymore." Isabella's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she squeezed his hand back, the brief touch igniting a flicker of hope within her. "Thank you, Nathaniel. I didn't think I would find someone like you again after everything." She hesitated, then continued, "It's just, I need to be strong for the girls. I can't let them see me break." Nathaniel nodded, recognizing the weight of her words. The twins, Sophia and Mia, were only 6 years old, yet they had faced more than most adults. He turned his attention to them, offering a gentle smile. "Hey girls, you know, your mom is really brave. She's been through a lot, but she's going to make sure you're safe and happy." Sophia, the more outgoing of the two, looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "Are you going to help us too?" she asked, her small voice carrying a hint of innocence that tugged at Nathaniel's heart. "Of course, I will," he replied earnestly. "I want to help all of you. We're going to figure this out together." He glanced at Isabella, who was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. Gratitude, fear, longing? He found himself hoping that they could build a life for the girls, one that was filled with laughter rather than shadows. As they finished their coffee, Nathaniel felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wanted to protect this fragile new family he had stumbled upon, to shield Isabella and the twins from the darkness that loomed in the background. He could sense that they were all standing at the precipice of something monumental, and he was determined to guide them through it. Later that evening, as they walked home, the air was thick with an unspoken tension. The city buzzed around them, oblivious to the quiet storm brewing within their small group. Nathaniel kept a protective arm around Isabella's shoulder, the twins holding onto his other hand tightly. He could feel their small fingers gripping him, an anchor of trust that filled him with warmth. Isabella suddenly stopped, her eyes darting to the shadows of a nearby alley. "Nathaniel," she whispered, her voice laced with fear. "We shouldn't be out here. What if he finds us?" "Who?" he asked, his protective instincts flaring. "Is it someone from your past?" She nodded, her expression grave. "The man who took me. He's dangerous. He has connections everywhere. I can't let him find us. Not now, not after all this time." Nathaniel felt a chill run down his spine. "We'll figure it out. I promise you." He tightened his grip on her and the twins, forming a united front against the unknown. "We need to get to the police and tell them everything we know. They can protect us." Isabella hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. "What if they can't? What if we end up in more danger?" "Then we prepare ourselves," he replied firmly. "We don't let fear dictate our actions. We take control. You've survived so much already, Isabella. You're stronger than you know." As they continued walking, the tension began to lift, if only slightly. The twins chattered innocently about the stars they could see in the night sky, their laughter ringing like music through the dimly lit streets. Nathaniel couldn't help but smile at their resilience. They were a reminder of hope, of a future worth fighting for. They arrived at the small police precinct, its fluorescent lights flickering as they stepped inside. The atmosphere was tense, with officers bustling about, but Nathaniel felt a surge of determination. He approached the front desk, his heart racing as he spoke to the officer on duty. "We need to report kidnapping. My friend here." "Isabella," she interjected, her voice steady despite the fear that lingered in her eyes. "I need to tell you everything." The officer nodded, leading them to a small interview room. As they settled into the cramped space, Nathaniel watched Isabella's expression shift from fear to resolve. She was ready to confront the demons of her past, and he would be by her side every step of the way. As she spoke, recounting the harrowing details of her abduction, Nathaniel felt a sense of urgency swell within him. He realized that this wasn't just about uncovering the truth. It was about reclaiming Isabella's life and protecting the daughters who depended on her. He could see the pain etched on her face as she relived those moments, but he also noticed the flicker of strength that ignited within her. "Isabella," he said softly when she finished, "you did the right thing. We'll figure this out, I promise." His voice was filled with conviction, a promise he intended to keep. The officer took notes, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We'll need to verify your story and gather more information," she said, her tone professional yet empathetic. "But I assure you, we will do everything we can to ensure your safety." Nathaniel felt a glimmer of hope. They were on the right path, and he would not let anything deter them from uncovering the truth. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their resolve and the love that slowly began to blossom amidst the chaos. The air was thick with tension as Nathaniel and Isabella huddled together behind a rusted metal barrel in the dimly lit alley, the distant sounds of sirens growing louder. The police raid was imminent, and the twins, Lily and Mia, clung to Isabella, their tiny faces showing a mix of fear and confusion. Nathaniel could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, 1,000 thoughts racing through his mind. He had never imagined that his life would lead him to this dangerous precipice. Yet here he was, prepared to face whatever came next for the sake of the woman he loved and the innocent lives he wished to protect. "Nathaniel," Isabella whispered urgently, her voice trembling. What if they find us here? What if? We'll be okay, he assured her, his hand gripping her shoulder. The police are here to help us. They'll take care of everything. Just stay close to me. His heart pounded in his chest, not just from the fear of the impending chaos, but from the overwhelming need to shield Isabella and the girls from any harm. As if on cue, the sound of heavy boots echoed in the alleyway, and Nathaniel peered around the barrel, catching sight of uniformed officers rushing toward the entrance of the hideout. He could see the tension in their movements, the urgency in their shouts as they coordinated with one another. Clear the area. Everyone, get down, one officer barked, his voice firm and commanding. Stay low, Nathaniel instructed, crouching even further, his body instinctively pulling Isabella and the twins closer to him. The world outside felt surreal, a cacophony of shouting, gunfire, and the distant wail of sirens merging into a dreadful symphony. Nathaniel's mind raced as he remembered the threat that had loomed over them since they began their investigation. They were now in the heart of the storm, and he would do everything in his power to keep them safe. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, shattering the night's tension. Nathaniel felt Isabella flinch beside him, and he could see the fear in her eyes. This isn't how it was supposed to be, she whispered, her voice breaking. The innocence of the twins felt like a fragile glass, teetering on the edge of a precipice. Look at me, Isabella, Nathaniel insisted, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. We're going to get through this. I promise. He caught her gaze, an unspoken understanding passing between them. They had fought too hard, come too far, to let fear dictate their fate now. The officers moved swiftly, their shouts punctuating the air as they swept through the alley. Nathaniel could see shadows moving in and out of the darkness, the officers engaging with the criminals who had held Isabella captive for so long. It was a battle between light and darkness, and Nathaniel felt an overwhelming urge to join the fight. But he couldn't abandon Isabella and the twins. They needed him. Then, a figure emerged, a man with a familiar face, a face Nathaniel had seen in the shadows of his past. It was Marcus, a former business associate of Nathaniel's family, his expression twisted with a mix of rage and desperation. Nathaniel, he shouted, his voice dripping with venom. You should have stayed out of this. You have no idea what you're getting into. Nathaniel's heart sank at the sight of Marcus. He had heard whispers of his unethical dealings, but he never imagined that he would be at the center of such a dark web. Let them go, Marcus, Nathaniel shouted back, trying to keep his voice steady. This isn't the way, isn't it? Marcus laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the alley. You have everything, Nathaniel. Power, money, respect. You think you can just waltz in and save her. You don't know what it's like to lose everything. His eyes darted to Isabella and the twins, a predatory glint igniting within them. You think they're safe with you? They're just pawns in a game far bigger than you can comprehend. In that moment, Nathaniel's resolve hardened. They're not pawns, he declared, his voice rising above the chaos. They are innocent lives, and I will protect them with everything I have. He took a step forward, shielding Isabella and the twins with his body. You're done, Marcus. Your reign of terror ends tonight. Without warning, the police charged in, the sound of gunfire erupting as they engaged Marcus's men. Nathaniel felt a surge of adrenaline, his instincts kicking in as he pulled Isabella and the girls closer. Stay behind me, he shouted, feeling the weight of his responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. The alley erupted into chaos as the officers advanced, but Nathaniel's focus remained on Isabella. We need to get out of here, he urged, scanning the area for an escape route. Can you run? Isabella nodded, her eyes fierce with determination. I won't let anything happen to the girls. We'll get through this together. With a nod, Nathaniel turned toward the back of the alley, where he could see a faint glimmer of light. This way, he called, urging Isabella to follow him. The twins were small enough to be sheltered beneath his arms as they dashed toward the light, the sounds of the confrontation echoing behind them. As they reached the edge of the alley, Nathaniel glanced back to see the officers gaining ground on Marcus and his men. "They're going to be okay," he reassured Isabella as they stumbled into the safety of the streetlights, the shadows receding behind them. "They're trained for this." But the moment of respite was short-lived. Just as they emerged into the open, a loud explosion rattled the ground, sending debris flying in all directions. Nathaniel instinctively threw himself over Isabella and the twins, shielding them from the blast. His heart raced as dust and chaos surrounded them, the air thick with smoke and the acrid scent of gunpowder. "Are you all right?" he gasped, lifting his head to check on Isabella and the girls. They were shaken, but alive, and Nathaniel let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "We need to keep moving." Together, they ran, the sirens fading into the distance as they navigated through the streets. The adrenaline coursed through Nathaniel's veins, the weight of the night's events settling heavily on his shoulders. He had never felt so alive, so determined, and yet so terrified. The thought of losing Isabella and the twins drove him forward. Finally, they reached a safe house, a nondescript building that Nathaniel had arranged for emergencies. As he ushered Isabella and the twins inside, he turned to her, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and concern. "We're safe now," he said, though uncertainty lingered in the back of his mind. Isabella took a moment to gather herself, her eyes searching Nathaniel's face for assurance. "You saved us," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," Nathaniel replied, his eyes softening. "I would do it again in a heartbeat." He reached out to touch her cheek, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath his fingertips. In that moment, all the pain, all the darkness, melted away, leaving only the two of them and the promise of a new beginning. As they sat together, the twins nestled between them, Nathaniel couldn't help but reflect on everything that had led them to this moment. The fear, the uncertainty, the shadows of their past. All of it had brought them together in ways he never could have imagined. And now, as they faced the dawn of a new day, there was hope on the horizon. "Together, we can face whatever comes next," he assured her, determination flooding his voice. Isabella nodded, her eyes shining with a newfound strength. They were no longer just survivors. They were a family, bound by love and resilience. With the twins giggling softly as they played in the corner, Nathaniel and Isabella exchanged a glance filled with promise. Whatever darkness lay ahead, they would confront it together, united in their love and the unwavering bond they had forged through adversity. As the first rays of sunlight began to pierce through the night's shadows, Nathaniel knew that their journey was far from over, but for the first time in years, he felt ready to embrace the future.